Jake Morrison looked out at the stars from the bridge of his ship. He had been a space captain for 10 years, but today felt different. Today, humans would meet aliens for the first time in history. The ship was called the USS Horizon. It was Earth's newest and best spaceship. Jake's crew had been chosen carefully for this important mission. They were flying to meet aliens who had sent a message to Earth 3 months ago. Lisa Brooks sat at the communication station. She was the ship's communication officer and spoke 6 different Earth languages. If anyone could talk to aliens, it would be her. Paul Adams worked at the navigation controls. He was the best pilot Earth had ever trained. The alien message had been simple. It came through space radio waves and said, "Come to coordinates 47.3 Alpha. We wish to meet." Earth scientists had worked for weeks to decode it. Everyone was excited. Finally, humans would not be alone in the universe. Jake walked around the bridge and checked on his crew. "How long until we reach the meeting point?" he asked Paul. 2 hours, Captain," Paul answered. "The asteroid field around the coordinates is thick, but I can get us through safely." Lisa turned from her station. "Captain, I'm picking up a large ship on sensors. It's definitely not human technology. This is it. We're about to meet real aliens." Jake felt his heart beat faster. He had trained for this moment, but nothing could really prepare someone for first contact with another species. "Calm," he told his crew. "Remember, we represent all of humanity today." The alien ship was huge compared to the Horizon. It looked like a giant metal flower with many pointed sections. Strange lights blinked along its surface. Jake had never seen anything so beautiful and frightening at the same time. "Captain, they're sending a message," Lisa said. "It's in the same language as before. They want to come aboard our ship." Jake nodded. "Tell them yes, we'll meet them." In docking bay 2, 20 minutes later, Jake stood in the docking bay with Lisa and Paul. They watched as a small alien shuttle connected to their ship. The airlock opened with a soft hiss. The first alien to step through was tall and thin, with blue skin and 4 arms. Its head was larger than a human head, and it had big black eyes. They wore long robes covered. In strange symbols, Jake stepped forward. He had practiced this moment many times. "Welcome to our ship," he said slowly and clearly. "I am Captain Jake Morrison. We come in peace." The tall alien made a sound that might have been words, but Jake could not understand them. Lisa quickly activated her translation device. It had been programmed with the alien language from their original message. "I am Ambassador Krellineth of the Zephyrian Council," the alien said through the translator. "We have come to evaluate your species." Jake smiled and stepped closer. This was the moment he had dreamed of. "Alien, it's an honor to meet you, Ambassador. This is how humans greet each other." Ambassador Krellineth looked at Jake's outstretched hand. His big black eyes grew even wider. He stepped back quickly and made a harsh sound. Lisa noticed the alien's reaction. "Captain, maybe they don't shake hands like we do," but Jake was already reaching into his pocket. He pulled out a small bottle of whiskey. It was Earth's finest. Aged for 20 years. It brought it as a gift to show human friendship. "Please accept this gift from Earth," Jake said, holding out the bottle. "It represents the best of human culture." Ambassador Krelinoff stared at the bottle. His skin turned from blue to dark purple. The other aliens behind him began making loud, angry sounds. "What is this?" Ambassador Krelinoff demanded through the translator. "You offer me combat and then present me with mind poison? Do you think I am weak and stupid?" Jake looked confused. "I don't understand. This is whiskey." "Nice. A gift of friendship." "Among our people," the ambassador said, his voice getting louder. "Physical contact between strangers is a challenge to fight. Offering fermented drinks means you think the receiver cannot think clearly. You have insulted me twice in one moment." Stepped forward quickly. "Ambassador, there's been a misunderstanding. Captain Morrison meant no insult. These are signs of friendship among humans." But Ambassador Krelinath was already reaching for a device on his belt. He spoke rapidly into it in his own language. Jake could not understand the words, but the tone was clearly angry. "What did you just do?" Jake asked. "I have sent an emergency message to the Zephyrian High Command," the ambassador replied. "I have told them that humans have declared war on our empire. War. Jake's voice rose in shock. We came here for peace. We want to be friends. Friends do not challenge each other to combat, Ambassador Krelinoth said. Friends do not offer mind poison as gifts. Your actions can only mean one thing. You consider the Zephyrian Empire your enemy. Paul stepped forward from behind Jake. Sir, their ship is powering up weapons. I think they're going to attack us. Jake could not believe what was happening. In less than 5 minutes, humanity's first contact with aliens had become a disaster. Ambassador, please listen to me. There has been a terrible mistake. But the aliens were already walking back toward their shuttle. Ambassador Krelinoth stopped at the airlock and turned back to Jake. The Zephyrian Empire has ruled this galaxy for 1,000 years, he said. We've conquered 400 star systems. No species has ever dared to challenge us as you have done today. Congratulations, humans. You have just declared war on the galaxy's most dangerous military power. The aliens disappeared into their shuttle. Jake, Lisa, and Paul ran toward the bridge as alarms began sounding throughout the ship. Captain, the alien ship is targeting our engines, Tony Martinez called from the weapons station. He was the ship's combat officer, though none of them had expected to need his skills today. They're firing, Paul shouted. Blue energy beams struck the horizon's shields. The ship shook violently. Jake grabbed his captain's chair and tried to think. Everything had gone wrong so fast. Tony, return fire, Jake ordered. Just enough to defend ourselves. Yes, sir, Tony replied. His hands moved quickly over the weapon controls. The Horizon's plasma cannons fired back at the alien ship. Jake had never wanted to fight anyone. He had come here to make friends with aliens and bring peace between species. Instead, his handshake and gift of whiskey had somehow started a war. Alien ship was much larger than the Horizon, but it seemed surprised by the human weapons. The plasma beams cut through part of its outer hull. The alien ship stopped firing and began moving away. Captain, they're launching escape pods, Lisa reported. I think we damaged their ship badly. Jake watched the alien vessel drift away, leaking atmosphere and debris. Small pods launched from its sides, carrying the alien crew to safety. At least no one had been killed. Sir, I'm receiving multiple transmissions, Lisa said, her voice worried. The aliens are broadcasting on all frequencies. I think they're calling for help. Jake sank into his captain's chair. He had been sent on humanity's most important diplomatic mission. Instead of making friends, he had accidentally started a war with an alien empire that ruled 400 star systems. Set course for Earth, he told Paul. Maximum speed. As the Horizon turned toward home, Jake wondered how he would explain to Earth's leaders that humanity's first contact with aliens had ended with combat. He had no idea that across the galaxy, the Zephyrian Empire was already preparing to send a fleet to destroy Earth. The war had begun with a handshake and a bottle of whiskey. Jake Morrison had wanted to make history, and he had. Just not the kind of history he had hoped for. Admiral Sarah Collins was drinking her morning coffee when the emergency alarm sounded at Earth Defense Command. She had been expecting this call ever since the Horizon returned from its mission 3 days ago. The news about first contact had spread quickly through Earth's government. Admiral, we have a problem, Lieutenant Commander Danny Wright said as he ran into her office. Long-range sensors are picking up massive energy signatures approaching the solar system. They're coming from the direction of the Kepler system, Sarah put down her coffee and followed Danny to the main command center. The room was filled with officers staring at screens showing dots of light moving toward Earth. Each dot represented a ship larger than anything humans had ever built. How many ships? Sarah asked. 47 confirmed contacts, Danny replied. They'll reach Earth orbit in 6 hours. Sarah activated the communication system. This is Admiral Collins to all Earth Defense Forces. We are now at Code Red. This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill. Across the planet, military bases came alive with activity. Space fighters launched from lunar bases, orbital defense platforms powered up their weapons. Earth's small fleet of 12 warships moved into defensive positions around the planet. Dr. Kevin Walsh ran through the hallways of the research center, carrying files full of alien language data. He had been working day and night since the horizon. Returned, trying to understand what had gone wrong with first contact. "Sarah, I need to talk to you," Kevin said as he reached the command center. "I've been studying the alien transmissions from the past 3 days. The situation is worse than we thought." "How much worse?" Sarah asked. Kevin opened his files and showed her pages of translated text. "The Zephyrian Empire has been sending messages to other alien civilizations. They're calling humans a dangerous warrior species that must be destroyed before we can." "Spread across the galaxy?" Sarah read the translations. The alien messages described humans as deceptive fighters who use trickery and dishonor. They claimed that humanity had challenged their greatest ambassador to single combat and then tried to poison him. "This is insane," Sarah said. "Jake Morrison was trying to be friendly." "I know," Kevin replied. "But to the Zephyrians, everything Jake did was an act of war. They think we're monsters." On Unity Station, the largest orbital defense platform, Captain Alex Turner prepared his crew for battle. Alex had been a fighter pilot before becoming a station commander. He had never fought aliens before, but he understood combat. "Listen up, everyone," Alex announced over the station's communication system. "In 5 hours, we're going to face an enemy we know nothing about. But remember this, we're defending our home. We're defending Earth." The crew of Unity Station consisted of 300 men and women from 20 different countries. They had trained together for years, but always thought they would be fighting other humans, not aliens. Lieutenant Colonel Marie Foster led Earth's newest fighter squadron from the lunar base, Armstrong. Her 12 fighters were the fastest ships humans had ever built. Each one carried experimental weapons that had never been tested in real combat. "Gold Squadron, this is Gold Leader Marie," said into her radio. "We're going to be the first humans. To fight aliens in space? Make it count." Her pilots were young and eager. They had volunteered for the most dangerous mission in human history. None of them expected to survive, but they were ready to fight for their planet. The first alien ships appeared on visual screens 30 minutes early. They were enormous, dark, vessels covered in weapon ports and armor plating. Each ship was 5 times larger than Earth's biggest warship. "My God," Danny Wright whispered as he watched the alien fleet approach. "Look at the size of those things." The alien ships moved into formation around Earth. They did not attack immediately. Instead, they sent a message on all radio frequencies. "People of Earth," the message said in perfect English. "I am Fleet Commander Zarthik of the Zephyrian Imperial Navy. Your species has declared war on the Zephyrian Empire. Will surrender immediately or be destroyed." Sarah picked up the communication microphone. "This is Admiral Sarah Collins of Earth Defense Command. There has been a misunderstanding. We seek peace, not war." "There is no misunderstanding," the alien commander replied. "Your representative challenged our ambassador and offered him poison. These are acts of war. You have 1 hour to surrender your planet." Sarah looked around the command center. Every person in the room was staring at her, waiting for orders. The fate of humanity rested on her decision. "All units, this is Admiral Collins," she said into the microphone. "We will not surrender our planet. All ships, prepare for combat." The hour passed quickly. Earth's small fleet took positions between the alien ships and the planet. The orbital defense platforms charged their weapons. Fighter squadrons launched from bases on the Moon and Mars. At exactly 1 hour, the alien ships opened fire. Blue energy. Beams shot toward Earth's defenders. The first target was Unity Station. Captain Alex Turner watched the beams approach on his screen. "All weapons, return fire," Alex ordered. "Give them everything we've got." Unity Station's plasma cannons fired. Back at the alien fleet, the beams struck the lead alien ship, but barely scratched its armor. More alien weapons fired at the station. "Hull breach on Deck 7, someone shouted. "We're losing atmosphere." Alex grabbed the station's controls and began spinning Unity Station. The movement confused the alien gunners and made the station harder to hit. It was a trick no alien had ever seen before. Lieutenant Colonel Marie Foster led her fighters in a direct attack on the alien flagship. The small human ships moved fast and changed direction constantly. The alien weapons could not track them. Gold Squadron, attack pattern Delta, Marie ordered. Hit them from all sides. The human fighters spread out and attacked the alien ship from 12 different directions at once. What? Their weapons were small compared to the alien guns, but they were fast and accurate. Inside the alien flagship, Fleet Commander Zarthik watched the human attack with confusion. In 1,000 years of warfare, the Zephyrian Empire had never faced tactics like these. Why do they not fight in formation? He asked his officers. Why do they attack from all directions like wild animals? Sir, they are using some kind of spinning defense, another officer reported. Their space station is rotating to avoid our weapons. Zarthik had conquered dozens of species, but they had all fought with honor and tradition. They formed battle lines and fought ship against ship. These humans fought like nothing he had ever seen. Captain Alex Turner coordinated with the lunar missile bases. Earth's ground forces launched hundreds of rockets at the alien fleet. Alien sensors. The alien ships thought they were facing a fleet of thousands of human vessels. Their sensors showed targets everywhere, but many of them were fake. The aliens began firing at empty space while the real human ships attacked from unexpected angles. Our sensors cannot tell what is real and what is false. Zarthik had never encountered psychological warfare before. The Zephyrian Empire fought with massive fleets and overwhelming force. They had never needed to use tricks or deception. The battle lasted for 4 hours. When it ended, 3 alien ships were severely damaged and retreating. Earth had lost 2 fighters and Unity Station was badly hurt, still fighting. As the alien fleet pulled back, Fleet Commander Zarthik sent another message across the galaxy. The humans are more dangerous than we thought, he reported to the Zephyrian High Command. They fight without honor, using tricks and deception. They make their enemies see things that are not there. They attack from all directions at once. We need more ships. Admiral Sarah Collins watched the alien fleet retreat. Earth had won the first battle, but she knew it was only the beginning. The aliens would return with more ships and better preparation. Danny, send a message to all Earth colonies, she ordered. Tell them to prepare for war. Contact the weapons factories. We need more ships, and we need them fast. As reports of the battle spread across Earth, people began to realize that humanity was no longer alone in the universe. They also realized that the universe was a dangerous place, and Earth would have to fight to survive. The war had truly begun. The news of Earth's victory spread across the galaxy faster than anyone expected. For the first time in 1,000 years, someone had defeated the Zephyrian Empire in battle. In the dark corners of alien worlds, enslaved species whispered about the mysterious humans who had made the impossible happen. General Patricia. Hay stood in the newly built war room deep beneath the Rocky Mountains. The room was filled with screens showing star maps, ship movements, and intelligence reports from across the galaxy. 3 weeks had passed since the first battle, and Patricia knew the aliens would return. How bad is it? She asked Colonel Jim Baker, her intelligence chief. Jim pointed to a large screen showing the Kepler sector. Red dots marked Zephyrian ship positions. There were thousands of them. They're gathering the largest fleet in their history, Jim reported. Our spies count over 10,000 warships. They're calling it the Human Purge Protocol. Patricia had been a soldier for 30 years. She had fought in wars on Earth, but nothing had prepared her for this. Humanity was facing an enemy that controlled half the galaxy. What about our allies? She asked. That's the good news, Jim smiled. 17 different alien species have sent secret messages offering to help us. They've been waiting centuries for someone to stand up to the Zephyrians. In the research labs of New Geneva, engineer Ryan Clark worked day and night on captured alien technology. The damaged Zephyrian ships from the first battle had given humans their first look at advanced alien science. Sarah, you need to see this. Ryan called to Admiral Collins as she visited the lab. Ryan showed her a piece of alien computer equipment. It looked like a crystal cube covered in tiny lights. This is their main computer core, Ryan explained. Their technology is incredibly advanced, but there's a problem. They've never heard of computer viruses or hacking. Their security is terrible. Sarah looked at the alien device. What does that mean for us? It means we can break into their systems, Ryan grinned. We can steal their information, change their orders, even shut down their ships from the inside. Ryan's team had discovered something amazing. The Zephyrian Empire was so powerful that no one had ever tried to fight them with sneaky tactics. They had never learned to protect themselves against the kind of warfare humans specialized in. Commander Steve Murphy prepared for the most dangerous mission in human history. He would lead a small team deep into alien space to gather information about Zephyrian military bases. Steve's ship was called the Shadow. It was built using new stealth technology that Earth scientists had developed by studying alien sensors. The ship could move through space almost invisibly. Remember, we're not going there to fight. Steve told his crew of 12 volunteers, we're going to watch, learn, and come back with information. The Shadow left Earth's solar system and began the long journey to Zephyrian space. Steve's team included technical experts, language specialists, and combat soldiers. They were ready for anything. 2 weeks later, the Shadow reached the Kepler sector. Steve's team found something they did not expect. The mighty Zephyrian Empire was not as strong as it appeared. Look at this, Lieutenant Karen Price said, pointing to her sensor readings. There are only 3 Zephyrian ships guarding this entire star system. They have 12 planets and millions of slaves, but almost no military presence. Steve studied the sensor data. The Zephyrian Empire controlled hundreds of star systems, but they did it through fear, not actual military strength. Most of their ships were concentrated in a few key locations. They're spread too thin, Steve realized. You can't defend everything at once. The Shadow spent 3 days observing Zephyrian operations. Steve's team watched alien supply ships moving between planets. They recorded communication signals and mapped military bases. What they discovered changed everything. Dr. Rachel Green had been Earth's best military strategist before the alien war began. Now she worked directly with General Hayes to plan humanity's response to the coming Zephyrian fleet. We can't fight them ship to ship, Rachel explained during a meeting of Earth's military leaders. They have too many vessels, but we don't have to fight them that way. Rachel showed the leaders a map of Zephyrian space. Red lines connected their major bases and supply routes. The Zephyrians control their empire through a network of supply bases and communication centers, she continued. If we can attack these key points at the same time, we can cause chaos throughout their territory. You're talking about attacking them in their own space, General Hayes said. That's incredibly dangerous. It's also the last thing they'll expect, Rachel replied. They're sending everything they have to attack Earth, their home territory. We'll be almost defenseless. The plan was bold beyond anything humans had ever attempted. Instead of waiting for the alien fleet to attack Earth, humanity would strike first at the heart of the Zephyrian Empire. Captain Ben Rodriguez commanded the first human task force to attack an alien world. His target was the Kethran system, where millions of enslaved aliens worked in mining colonies under Zephyrian control. Ben's fleet consisted of 20 small, fast ships. They were designed for hit-and-run attacks, not massive battles. Each ship carried advanced computer warfare equipment, developed by Ryan Clark's team. Remember, we're not here to conquer, Ben told his captains. We're here to liberate. The human ships approached Kethran, using asteroid cover and electronic jamming. The 3 Zephyrian guard ships did not detect them until it was too late. Ben's fleet attacked all 3 alien ships simultaneously, but instead of using only weapons, they used Ryan's computer viruses to shut down alien systems. The Zephyrian ships found themselves unable to communicate or control their weapons. This is Captain Rodriguez to all enslaved peoples of Kethran. Ben broadcast on all frequencies. We are humans from Earth. We are here to free you from Zephyrian control. The response was immediate. Across the Kethran system, enslaved aliens began destroying Zephyrian equipment and attacking their guards. The liberation had begun. Within 6 hours, the Kethran system was free. Ben's ships had captured 2 Zephyrian vessels and rescued over 50,000 enslaved aliens. More importantly, they had sent a message across the galaxy. News of the Kethron liberation spread through secret communication networks used by enslaved species. The humans had not just defeated the Zephyrians in battle, they had actually freed an entire star system. Similar attacks happened across Zephyrian space over the next week. Human task forces struck at mining worlds, supply bases, and communication centers. Each attack was coordinated with local rebellions by enslaved aliens who had been waiting for someone to help them fight back. Admiral Collins received reports from all the human attack fleets. The results were better than anyone had hoped. Catherine is free, she read from the reports. Vega 3 has declared independence. The Rigel colonies have expelled their Zephyrian governors. 18 star systems are now in open rebellion. A Zephyrian high command found themselves facing a crisis they had never imagined. Supreme Commander Velthok called an emergency meeting of his top officers. "How is this possible?" he demanded. "We rule 400 star systems. How can a primitive species from one planet cause this much trouble?" "Sir, the humans are not fighting like any species we have encountered," reported Intelligence Chief. "Morden, they do not try to hold territory. They attack quickly, free our slaves, and disappear before we can respond. And the freed slaves are helping them," added Fleet Admiral Kekstar. "Our own subjects are providing the humans with information about our bases and supply routes." Velthek stared at the map showing rebellion spreading across his empire. In 1 month, the humans had done more damage than any enemy in Zephyrian history. "Double the guards on all important systems," he ordered. "And speed up the attack on Earth. We must destroy the human homeworld before this rebellion spreads further." But it was already too late. Across the galaxy, enslaved species were rising up against their Zephyrian masters. They had seen that the mighty empire could be defeated. The humans had shown them that freedom was possible, Commander. Steve Murphy's team returned to Earth with the most important intelligence of the war. They had discovered the location of the Zephyrian Imperial Academy, where the alien empire trained its officers and stored its most secret military records. "If we can capture that facility," Steve reported to General Hayes, "we'll have access to 1,000 years of Zephyrian military history. We'll know everything about how their empire really works." Prisha Hayes looked at the star chart showing the Academy's location. It was deep in Zephyrian space, heavily defended, and incredibly dangerous to approach. "How many ships would we need?" she asked. Actually, Steve smiled. "I think we can do it with just one." Supreme Commander Velthik stood in the war room of his flagship, staring at reports that made no sense. In just 2 months, 37 star systems had rebelled against Zephyrian rule. His 1,000-year empire was falling apart, and it was all because of one primitive planet called Earth. "Sir, we have another problem," his aide reported nervously. "The humans have formed something they call the Liberation Alliance. 6 different species are now fighting under human command." Velthak crushed the report in his hand. 6 species? Which ones? The Kethra. The vegan mining clans? 3 colonies? From the Rigel sector, and most surprising of all, the Androni peaceful traders have joined them. The Androni had never fought anyone in their 300-year history. They were merchants and diplomats, not warriors. If even they were taking up arms against the Empire, the situation was worse than Velthak had imagined. Admiral David Wright commanded Earth's rapidly growing fleet from his flagship, the new battleship Unity. In 3 months, Earth's shipyards had produced over 800 new vessels. They were not as big as Zephyrian ships, but they were fast, smart, and deadly. "Admiral, we're receiving a transmission from the Proxima 7 sector," his communication officer reported. "The local Zephyrian governor is requesting immediate military support. They're facing a coordinated rebellion." David smiled. Proxima 7 was home to one of the largest Zephyrian military academies outside their home system. "Take control there. It would be a major victory for the Alliance." "Signal the Liberty Task Force," David ordered. "Tell Captain Martinez to change course for Proxima 7. It's time to help our new friends." Captain Tony Martinez had been the weapons officer on the horizon during First Contact. Now he commanded his own ship in humanity's war against the Zephyrian Empire. The irony was not lost on him that the man who fired the first shot was now leading liberation missions. Tony's task force included ships from 4 different species. Human vessels worked alongside Kethra fighters and Androni support ships. It was the first truly multi-species fleet in galactic history. All ships. This is Captain Martinez, Tony announced. Remember, we're not just fighting for Earth anymore. We're fighting for freedom across the galaxy. The Battle of Proxima 7 became famous throughout the galaxy, but not for the reasons anyone expected. When the Zephyrian Third Fleet arrived to stop the rebellion, they found themselves facing something completely new. Lieutenant Commander Amy Stewart had developed new tactics that she called cultural warfare, instead of just fighting with weapons. Her team studied alien psychology and used it against their enemies. Captain Martinez, I'm ready to begin the psychological attack, Amy reported from her specialized command ship. Do it, Tony replied. Amy's team began broadcasting messages directly to the Zephyrian ships. But these were not threats or demands for surrender. They were personal messages to individual Zephyrian crew members. Soldier Kexmoth of the ship. Darkstar, one message said. Your family on Zephyr Prime is safe. The Human Alliance does not make war on civilians. You do not need to die for your commanders today. Amy's team had spent weeks studying captured Zephyrian personnel files. They knew the names, families, and home planets of thousands of enemy soldiers. The psychological impact was devastating. Sir, the enemy knows our crew members by name, a Zephyrian officer reported to his captain. How is this possible? Before the captain could answer, more personal messages flooded their communication system. The humans were offering individual Zephyrian soldiers safe passage home if they would stop fighting. The battle that followed was unlike anything in galactic military history. Half the Zephyrian fleet fought with their usual tactics. The other half was confused and demoralized by the personal nature of the human psychological warfare. Captain Tony Martinez coordinated his mixed fleet with precision. Human ships used their speed and electronic warfare capabilities. Kethra fighters attacked in swarms. Droni support vessels provided repair and medical assistance to any ship that needed help, including damaged Zephyrian vessels. Sir, the humans are helping our damaged ships, a confused Zephyrian officer reported. That's impossible, his captain replied. We are their enemies. I know, sir, but they just sent medical supplies to the cruiser Nightwind. They're treating our wounded. This was another human innovation that baffled the Zephyrians. Throughout their history, warfare had been about destroying enemies completely. The idea of helping enemy wounded during battle was completely foreign to them. The Battle of Proxima 7 ended when the Zephyrian fleet commander ordered a retreat. His ships had not been destroyed, but his crews were too confused and demoralized to continue fighting effectively. More importantly, the rebellion on Proxima 7 succeeded. The planet's population overthrew their Zephyrian governors and declared independence. For the first time, a major Zephyrian military academy fell too. Rebel Forces Captain Chris Matthews led the most daring mission of the war. His target was the Zephyrian Imperial Academy. On the heavily defended world of Mordic Prime, the academy was where the Empire trained its best officers and stored centuries of military records. Chris commanded a single ship called the Ghost Rider. It was Earth's most advanced stealth vessel, invisible to most sensors and completely silent in space. His crew consisted of just 12 specialists, including computer expert Lisa Park and combat engineer Frank Cooper. Remember, we're not here to destroy the Academy, Chris told his team as they approached Mordic Prime. We're here to capture it intact. Those records could end this war. The Ghost Rider slipped past the planet's defense satellites without being detected. Chris's team used stolen Zephyrian access codes to land at the Academy's main spaceport. To the Academy guards, they looked like a routine supply ship. Lisa Park had spent months studying Zephyrian computer systems. When they reached the Academy's central data core, she was ready. I'm in, she whispered into her radio. Downloading everything. Military records, strategic plans, political files, the works. What Lisa found in the Academy's computers shocked her. The Zephyrian Empire was not the unified military power it appeared to be. The records showed centuries of internal conflicts, rebellions, and political struggles. Chris, you need to see this, Lisa called. The Zephyrians aren't one species. They're actually dozens of different alien races that were conquered and forced to serve the Empire. The stolen records revealed the Empire's greatest secret. The Zephyrian military was made up mostly of enslaved soldiers from conquered worlds. Only the highest commanders were actually from the original Zephyrian homeworld, Frank Cooper discovered. Something equally important in the Academy's training materials. Captain, their entire military doctrine is based on fighting enemies who use traditional tactics. They have no training for psychological warfare, guerrilla attacks, or multi-species alliances. Chris realized they had found the key to defeating the Empire. The Zephyrians were powerful, but they were also predictable. They had conquered so many worlds using the same methods that they could not adapt to new forms of warfare. Dr. Michelle Roberts worked with teams of alien translators to study the captured Academy records. What they discovered changed everything. Humans thought they knew about the galaxy. The Zephyrian Empire is a house of cards, Michelle reported to General Hayes. It's held together by fear and propaganda, not loyalty. Most of their soldiers are fighting because they're forced to, not because they believe in the Empire. The records showed detailed information about every world in Zephyrian space. Michelle's team identified planets where the local population hated their rulers, military bases with unhappy soldiers, and supply routes that could be easily disrupted. More importantly, they found the locations of the original Zephyrian colonies. These worlds were the true power centers of the Empire, where the ruling class lived in luxury while their enslaved armies fought across the galaxy. If we can reach these core worlds, Michelle explained, we can broadcast the truth about the Empire's history. Most Zephyrian soldiers don't even know they're fighting for the same people who enslaved their ancestors. Amy Stewart developed a new strategy based on the captured information. Instead of fighting Zephyrian forces directly, human teams would broadcast the truth about the Empire's history to enemy soldiers. We're going to turn their own army against them, Amy explained to Admiral Wright. When Zephyrian soldiers learn that their commanders are descended from the same people who enslaved their homeworlds, they'll stop fighting. The first test of this strategy came during the Battle of the Vega Nebula. When a large Zephyrian fleet arrived to retake the rebellious Vega colonies, they were met not with weapons, but with information. Human ships broadcast detailed historical records to every vessel in the alien fleet. The records showed how the original Zephyrian rulers had conquered and enslaved the ancestors of the current soldiers. Attention crews of the Zephyrian 7th Fleet, the human broadcast began. You were fighting for the same empire that destroyed Dazah, your homeworlds, and enslaved your people. You do not have to die for your oppressors. The effect was immediate and dramatic. Entire ships switched sides in the middle of the battle. Zephyrian soldiers turned their weapons on their own commanders. What had been a military engagement became a revolution. The war ended not with a great battle, but with a simple message. Supreme Commander Velthak sat alone in his command center, watching reports stream in from across his crumbling empire. His own fleet commanders were refusing orders. His home guard had joined the rebellion. Even his personal bodyguards had walked away. Sir, his last remaining aide said quietly, the High Council is requesting your immediate surrender. They say the Empire is finished. Velthak looked at the star map that had once shown his vast domain. Red markers indicated systems in rebellion. Blue markers showed worlds that had joined the Human Liberation Alliance. Green markers represented planets that had declared independence. Only a handful of yellow dots remained loyal to the old empire. Send a message to the human fleet, Velthak said with a tired voice. Tell them I am ready to discuss terms. President Jennifer Walsh stood before the newly constructed Galactic Assembly Hall on Earth's orbital station. A massive chamber could hold representatives from over 300 different species. Today it was packed with delegates who had come to witness the birth of a new kind of government. Jennifer had been Earth's Secretary of State when the war began. Now, 6 months after the first battle, she had been elected as the first president of the Galactic Democratic Alliance. It was a job she had never wanted, but one that history demanded. Friends and allies, Jennifer began her speech, we gather. Today, not as conquerors and conquered, but as equals seeking a better future for all species. In the front row sat Captain Jake Morrison, the man whose handshake had started the entire conflict. He wore the uniform of a galactic ambassador, a position created specifically for him. The universe had a sense of humor, Jake thought. The person who accidentally declared war had become the chief peacemaker. Behind Jake sat former enemies who were now allies. Admiral Zarthik, who had led the first attack on Earth, now served as military advisor to the new alliance. Dr. Krelenith, the ambassador whose misunderstanding had caused the war, worked as head of the cultural exchange program. The old empire ruled through fear, Jennifer continued. We will govern through cooperation. Every species, no matter how small or new, to space travel, will have a voice in our shared future. Admiral Sarah Collins watched the ceremony from the Alliance military headquarters. She now commanded not just Earth's forces, but a combined fleet representing 47 different species. It was the largest peacekeeping force in galactic history. Admiral, we're receiving reports from the Kepler sector, her aide reported. The last Zephyrian holdouts have agreed to join the Alliance. It makes it unanimous. Sarah smiled. Every star system that had once belonged to the Empire had now chosen to join the Democratic Alliance. The transition had taken only 8 months. Faster than anyone had believed possible. The success came from humanity's unique approach to victory. Instead of punishing their former enemies, humans had invited them to help build something better. Former Zephyrian officers worked alongside their old opponents to create new governments on liberated worlds. Captain Ben Rodriguez had become one of the Alliance's most successful peacekeepers. His ship, now renamed the Freedom, traveled from system to system, helping new democratic governments establish themselves. Captain, we're approaching the Mordic system, his navigator announced. The former Imperial Academy is requesting assistance with their new civilian government. Ben remembered when this same system had been the heart of Zephyrian military power. Now it was becoming a center for peaceful education. Training diplomats instead of soldiers, the transformation of Mordic Prime symbolized the changes happening. Across the galaxy, Dr. Michelle Roberts had worked with local leaders to convert the military academy into a school for interspecies cooperation. Former enemies learned to work together toward common goals. Commander Steve Murphy led teams that traveled to remote star systems, bringing news of the Alliance and helping isolated worlds join the galactic community. Many planets had been cut off from contact for centuries under Zephyrian rule. Steve, you need to see this, his science officer said as they explored a previously unknown system. There's a whole civilization here that the Empire never found. They've been developing in isolation for thousands of years. These discoveries happened regularly as the Alliance expanded. The galaxy was far more diverse and populated than anyone had realized. The Zephyrian Empire had controlled only a small portion of the known worlds, leaving vast regions unexplored. Amy Stewart's cultural warfare techniques had evolved into something more positive. She now led the Galactic Understanding Project, which helped different species learn about each other's customs and avoid the misunderstandings that had started the war. The key is communication, Amy explained to a group of new ambassadors. Most conflicts begin when species assume others think the same way they do. We must learn to see through alien eyes. Amy's teams had developed translation protocols that went beyond language to include cultural context. The simple handshake that had caused so much trouble was now understood across the galaxy as a human greeting. It's not a challenge to combat. Ryan. Clark's engineering teams worked to share technology among Alliance members. The goal was not to make everyone the same, but to help each species develop their unique strengths. The Androni have the best peaceful technology in the galaxy, Ryan explained to his mixed species engineering crew. The Kethra understand energy weapons better than anyone. Humans are good at adapting and improvising. When we combine our knowledge, we can solve problems none of us could handle alone. This cooperative approach led to incredible advances. Medical technology from peaceful species was combined with human emergency medicine to save lives across the galaxy. Androni environmental science helped restore planets damaged by centuries of industrial exploitation. Tony Martinez had been promoted to admiral and now commanded the Alliance's rapid response fleet. His ships responded to natural disasters, pirate attacks, and requests for aid from any member world. Admiral, we're receiving a distress call from the Vega mining colonies, his communication officer reported. They're facing an asteroid impact that could destroy several cities. All ships, prepare for emergency deployment, Tony ordered. We have people to save. Tony's fleet included ships from a dozen different species, each contributing their unique capabilities to the rescue effort. It was the kind of cooperation that would have been impossible under the old empire. The asteroid crisis was resolved in 6 hours through coordinated effort. Human ships provided the speed and coordination. Androni vessels contributed their advanced deflector technology. Former Zephyrian ships used their powerful engines to push the asteroid into a safe orbit. Captain Alex Turner, who had commanded Unity Station during the first battle, now ran the Galactic Defense Training Center. His job was to prepare the Alliance for any future threats while maintaining their commitment to peace. Defense is not about preparing for war, Alex taught his students. Defense is about preventing war through strength, diplomacy, and understanding. Training Center welcomed students from every Alliance member species. They learned not just military tactics, but conflict resolution, cultural sensitivity, and cooperative problem-solving. As the first anniversary of the war's end approached, Jake Morrison prepared for his most important diplomatic mission yet. He would return to the site where first contact had gone so wrong, but this time as part of a celebration. "Jake, are you nervous?" Lisa Brooks asked as they stood on the bridge of the new ship Harmony. Lisa had become his deputy ambassador and closest advisor, little Jake admitted. "But this time I know what I'm doing." Ceremony at coordinates 47.3 Alpha brought together representatives from every species in the Alliance. They came not to remember a war, but to celebrate the peace that had grown from a simple misunderstanding. Ambassador Krelinoth, and one of Jake's closest friends, stepped forward to speak. "1 year ago, I made the mistake of seeing enemies where humans intended friendship. Today, I see friends everywhere I look." Jake smiled and extended his hand to Krelinoth. This time, the alien ambassador knew exactly what the gesture meant. They shook hands while representatives from 300 species watched and cheered President. Jennifer Walsh delivered the final speech of the ceremony. "We have learned that the greatest strength is not the power to destroy, but the wisdom. To build the galaxy is vast and full of wonders we have yet to discover. Together, we will explore those wonders in peace." As the ceremony ended and ships began departing for their home worlds, Jake stood on the observation deck watching the stars. A year ago, he had accidentally declared war on the galaxy's most powerful empire. Today, that empire no longer existed. Replaced by the largest democratic alliance in galactic history, the universe had taught humanity an important lesson. Sometimes the greatest victories come not from fighting harder, but from fighting smarter. And sometimes the best way to win a war is to convince your enemies that peace is better than victory. The handshake that started a war had become the symbol of galactic friendship. Jake Morrison, who had once been the most embarrassed diplomat in human history, was now remembered as the man who brought democracy to the stars. The galaxy would never be the same, and that was exactly what everyone had hoped for.